Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 4. So I got everything packed up. I'm ready to hit the road here from camp. Great night last night. Last night was a wonderful night. There was almost no wind. It was pretty warm. I got to stay up late editing videos. I even have service, so I was able to talk with my wife and stuff. It was just a great camp spot. So I'm thrilled about that. I've got a pretty easy, chill day today. Now, I've got 3 to 4 hours of driving, which is similar to day 1. I'm a little nervous about that, but I think most of it is gonna be downhill, and I'm just gonna take it in chunks. I don't have anything else to do today, and so I'm hoping to get a little bit at a time, maybe hour and a half, take a break, hour and a half, take a break. But this morning, I've got some stuff I just need to catch up on. I gotta get ready for the SEMA show. I don't know anything about where I'm staying, what I'm doing, any of that. So I'm gonna head down and see if I can hit up a local coffee shop, just chill for a bit, charge up some of my devices, as well as charge myself up with a cup of coffee. And then I'm gonna make a plan and hit the road. All right, just got done with a very relaxing morning. Had a cup of coffee, had some breakfast, charged up all of my stuff, and did a bunch of research on where I'm going, where I'm headed. It was just good to sit down, have internet, and reroute, and kind of, now that I know the rig a little better, figure out exactly where I'm going and where I want to spend my time. So I'm gonna pick up a couple more supplies here in Prescott. Prescott's kind of cool. Here's my hot take on Prescott. A lot of fancy, outdoorsy white people, which is just fine. It kind of feels like Bozeman, honestly. Seems like a cool town. There's some cool art here. But anyways, I'm gonna hit up a Harbor Freight and then a grocery store, and then I'm gonna make my way. I think I found a really interesting, really remote back roads, it might even be dirt roads kind of path that would get me where I wanna go tonight. And then I'll be camping just outside of Kingman. So I'm gonna hit Harbor Freight, pick up some supplies at the grocery store, and hit the road. All right, I'm making my way out of Prescott, and it just started hailing, and there was a lightning strike right up there. We're getting some weather, so I'm not particularly scared of driving this thing in the weather, but I really don't want to hang out in it and camp in it. So I'm really hoping by heading west that I get out of some of this stuff. Yeah, it's coming down. It's really coming down now. Crazy. So there's actually enough hail on the ground that it's getting slippery out there. So I threw this thing into 4-wheel drive, and it's just crushing it out here. But that's crazy. I mean, this happened all in the course of about 1 minute. So I'm at Safeway right now. I gotta run in and get some food, and then I gotta hit the road. I got some fuel, I got everything I need from Prescott, and I'm hitting the road. It looks like we're gonna have some nice twisties, and this thing is so much fun to drive in a little bit of weather. It just loves the cold. You can really feel the boost coming on. Really feel the boost. I mean, it's still gutless, but you can just tell this thing was made for the colder weather. So I'm gonna hit this twisty road. I got about 50 minutes until my next stop, and then I'm gonna get off the beaten path and hit some back roads. This is awesome, climbing out of Prescott. It's a nice twisty mountain road, getting to row through the gears again. This is just awesome. I love that I'm taking all these back roads. That's part of the joy of doing this in a K-truck is, sure, you could just jump on the highway and just cruise and not see anything pretty, but I'm forced to kind of take these meandering back roads to go everywhere. And it's just a great way to see the country and see different things. This is spectacular. Here's a fun modification that I put on the Pajero Mini before I took off. Right here, you can see on this side, you got the turbo, and I've installed something that is known in the snowmobile world as a hot dogger. This gets strapped to the exhaust of your snowmobile, and it allows you to warm up food while you're on the trail. So I took it off my snowmobile, installed it right here onto the turbo using one of those hose clamps. And so I can be going up hills, driving around, and I can be cooking up lunch. So I'm pulled over here on a really cool spot. Check out this cactus. Been driving for a little bit. Gonna take a chill pill, let the car chill a little bit, and eat some lunch. Guys, this is crazy. So I'm on my way headed towards Vegas. I just got passed by Shmee 150 driving his GT. You can see it clearly on the license plate. I mean, he passed me like I was standing still, and this semi-truck's passing me like I'm standing still. But that's crazy! It officially feels like I'm going to SEMA now. All right, this is absolutely brutal. I've been on this highway for maybe 45 minutes. It just went from double lane to single lane. I'm doing everything I can to stick up with traffic, but I'm battling a headwind. And I've been going uphill for a lot of it. And I've got this massive uphill coming. Temps are looking good. The motor is running pretty good, but I'm getting really low. I'm down at like maybe 50 miles per hour right now. Just trying to fight this thing. The headwind is really pushing me around, and it's making it so slow. So I've just got my flashers on, trying to do everything I can to get up this hill. I'm about to pull off to the side of the road and head into the woods for the night, so I'm thankful for that. Hopefully I won't have to stay on this for too much longer, but this is gonna be crazy. All right, going up the hill. I feel bad for anyone who's behind me. I'm at 45 miles an hour right now, about to drop down into fourth. This headwind is just punishing me. I'm going uphill. I'm getting pounded by the wind. But we're making it, oh sweet, it opens up to a double lane. All right, we're just chugging. Patience is key in this thing. Down to the third gear, 30 miles an hour. 4,500 RPM. All right, we made it up the hill. I'm still in the boost at 4,500 RPM at 45 miles an hour. Whew, I'm ready to get off this highway and out of this headwind, man, but that's my exit right there. This has been a good test, man. The car actually is pretty happy. It just won't go any faster than it wants to go. And just like that, I'm on the dirt roads. I really have no idea where I'm going. I just am trusting Onyx that this is where I'm supposed to go, and I love that sign right there. Primitive. Caution, use this road only at your own risk. The car is definitely cranky when it comes off the highway. I think it doesn't like idling it, or not idling, it doesn't like cruising at those high RPM, and then you kind of get it down below the boost, and I wonder if the ECU or something just has trouble adapting. But now we're on this road for a lot more miles, and it's just me, and I don't have to worry about anyone else. Well, here's the latest development. I am totally level right now, and my fuel light has just come on, and I am pretty low, but that headwind just sucked all of the power out of this thing and used a ton of gas. So thankfully I do have 2 gallons in the back, but that's concerning. So I'm pulled over here. I'm gonna take a second to let the car chill out, and I'm also gonna figure out where I am and how close to a gas station I am. All right, so I'm pulled over on the side of the road, and I'm actually on the track where I want to be. So I didn't break down or anything, and I'm headed towards Kingman, but I found a way to go through like some back roads. It's all dirt, I think, for the next 25 miles. And I figured now would be as good a time of any to tell you guys how the car is running and what I'm learning about it. So I've had this thing for about a week now, and I've been on this road trip for 4 days. The first day you guys saw, I was really struggling. It was about 4 hours on the road. It was mostly mostly uphill, and I was still learning the car, and it was freaking me out a little. But then about halfway through that, I started to trust it. I started to see the consistencies and what it wanted to do, and it was a lot of fun. Now, I learned a couple valuable things in that. One, hills are a challenge, and you can really push this thing up a hill, but you're not really going to go anywhere. So you're a lot better off locking into a speed, locking into an RPM range, and just hanging out there, and just kind of letting the car do what it's going to do, let other traffic do what it's going to do, which is easy to do if there's a place for them to pass you. But when it's just you and you're holding up traffic, that can be tough, especially when you're like holding up truckers. I feel bad. So I'm either trying to pull over to the side of the road or let people pass me on those double lanes. And that's worked just fine so far. I do have the hazard lights on top, and so people can see me, and that seems like it's worked out really well. No one seems like they're surprised about my existence. Everyone's been really mindful of me. But when the speed limit is 65 and you're going up a hill, I'm sometimes able to keep up a little bit. I'm most of the time down in like 50, 45, even in some places dropping down to like 30 miles an hour, just trying to get up there. Now, one of the things I'm really paying attention to is my gearing, therefore my RPM and my temperature. The temperature is really easy to explain. It hasn't moved a bit. It has been so consistent. It's been so level. And even after I do a big hill pull like I just did, I'll pop the hood and I'll look at stuff, and nothing is overly hot. Honestly, you would have no idea that it just worked really hard, that it was at like 7,000 RPM getting up this hill. It seems to be running completely chill, so it's not really seeming like the motor is overstressed. However, picking a gear is pretty different. So pretty much the only time I'm using fifth is when I'm going downhill or I'm cruising flat at like 60, 65 miles an hour. I'm trying not to get too high over that. And when I'm going about 65, between 60 and 65, I'm about 5,000 RPM in fifth gear. And then from there, you can drop down to fourth, but the RPM difference between fourth and fifth is about 1,000. So it'll give you a little bit of an advantage, but not much. So when I'm cruising downhill or I'm cruising on flat, I'm usually going between fourth and fifth. The hard part comes when I'm going up a hill pretty aggressively. I'm between fourth and third. And the reason I say that's hard is because 1, 2, and 3 are fairly close ratio. I don't know exactly what they are, but 1, 2, and 3, you can kind of cycle through them pretty well. But the jump between 3 and 4 is somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000 RPM. And that's significant because if I'm cruising at 6,500 RPM and I drop down 3,000 RPM, I'm all of a sudden right on the verge of running out of boost. So anything less than 3.5 grand puts me out of boost. And so not only am I going way slower, but now I don't have the power to overcome it. So I'm constantly cycling between third and fourth, and I'll shift down into fourth and then immediately back up into third because it's just not enough. So I'm either cruising way high in the RPM range in third or too low in fourth. And so I'm learning as I go, I need to shift really late from third to fourth. It's okay to let it run out all the way into 7,000 RPM, drop it down and catch it again right around that 4,000 RPM and bring it back up. That seems to be working pretty well. But either way, that's something I'm learning as I'm going through all of this and as I'm going up and down these hills. Now, truth be told, this is not that bad. I mean, the car is moving all over the road. The steering wheel is really shaky. It's not a sports car by any means, and I'm having to go really slow. But it's not that big a deal as long as you kind of put yourself in the mindset of like, hey, it's going to take a minute. Let the car do what it's going to do. Don't worry about everyone else. Don't worry about your timelines or keeping up with the speed limit. It's actually fairly enjoyable to drive. And it really forces me to slow down and look for all these alternative routes that I never would take. I would never go this route if I had a car that could go the speed limit. But because I don't, I'm excited about exploring this. And I'd way rather do 22 miles of beating the car up in the dirt and on the gravel than I would hit the highway again and have to go through that. Now, I mentioned on day one that I was getting a little bit of like a stuttering issue or a miss. And I don't think it's a miss. I definitely don't think it's a knock. It doesn't appear like a knock. It's not doing any knocky things. What I think is happening is sometimes when I adjust the throttle, so let's say I'm cruising at 5,000 RPM and I drop down a gear, it takes it a second to kind of get into the new rhythm. The same thing is true if I go up a gear. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes it takes a little while until there'll be kind of a lurchy feeling. And I'm not 100% sure what that is, whether it's spark or fuel. It can't really be timing. There's no variable valves in here. And I think I think it is either a throttle position sensor issue or an ECU issue. Now, both of those are fairly scary. Throttle position sensor would be easier. I do actually have an extra throttle body that just came with the car. The guy said he never threw it on, but he was maybe curious if that was part of it. The ECU would be different. That would be a lot harder. But here's the thing that's helping me kind of get through that is it hasn't gotten any worse and it hasn't gotten any better. It stayed the same and it hasn't killed the car and it's something I can power through. So now that I know it, now that I know to expect it, it's definitely odd, but it doesn't really slow me down. It's not like the car's getting way, way, way slower and I have to like scramble to figure it out. It's not like the car's dying. I'm having to pull over the side of the road, start it up again. Nothing like that. It's just kind of a stutter every once in a while. And so for right now, I'm not concerned about it. And every day that I do this, I get more and more confident that it's not going to be an issue. So I guess we'll see. Another thing I want to point out is oil consumption. I'm not consuming that much oil, maybe a little bit. I maybe have used 1/4 of a quart in the last 500 miles, which is pretty good. But it's definitely something I want to keep an eye on with those high revs. I want to make sure it's got plenty of oil because anything going wrong at like 6,000 RPM, that's catastrophic. Another thing to point out is I'm doing a couple different conversions as far as speedometers go. So if you're looking at my speedometer in the videos and you're like, hey, what he's saying for miles per hour isn't lining up with that, what's happening is not only am I converting kilometers per hour to miles per hour, but also my tires are 6.5% bigger. So I have to add 6.5%. Now, that is not a conversion that I'm able to do in my head, but basically I've picked a couple points on the speedometer that help me know where I'm at. So straight up and down, that's 70 kilometers per hour. That puts me at 45 miles per hour. And then when I get over towards 100, when I'm close to like 90, 95, that's about 60, 62. And then when I'm at 100, that's 65 miles per hour. Now, I know that that's not actually the conversion, but again, you add that 6.5% and it changes things. And so for the most part, I don't have to worry about speeding. I have to worry about keeping up with traffic. But for me, it's kind of like the car is going to go as fast as it's going to go, and that's it. So I don't have to really worry about it, but it's still good for me to know. I did hit a top speed today. I was jamming to some heavy metal in my AirPods and they were doing noise canceling, so I wasn't quite paying attention, and I saw 75 miles per hour. Now, I don't want to push it any faster than that. That was going downhill with a tailwind. I was cruising, and actually the car felt pretty stable, but you're pretty high in the rev range when you get into that. The last thing I want to mention is fuel economy. So there's been a lot of talk about whether or not these get good gas mileage, bad gas mileage. I want to mention a few things. First of all, I am running premium, and I'm too scared to run anything else, honestly. I'm just going to keep running premium the whole time. I thought when I got to different elevations, I'd kind of experiment. Nah, it's not worth it. I'm going to run premium. And then the other thing is a lot of different factors change gas mileage. So like right now I'm sitting on the side of the road wondering if I'm going to run out of gas because I was just going uphill in a headwind. And so obviously my miles per gallon is lower than I thought it was going to be. However, right now it's pretty safe to say I can get about 200 kilometers on my odometer out of a tank. It's a 10-gallon tank. So the math is kind of interesting here because you've got that 6.5% because the tires are bigger, and so you've got to change all that up. But when I did the average and I did the conversion, I'm getting somewhere between 18 and 20 miles per gallon, which is pretty good considering this thing spends most of its life at 5,000 RPM. So I'm really pleased with that. That's way better than I thought. I had some people telling me I was going to be in like the 10s, and that was looking pretty expensive and also pretty hard to budget around when you can only make it less than 100 miles per tank. But right now it's doing pretty good. That's what I've got for the current gas mileage. So there's the kind of health check on the Pajero Mini and how road tripping it goes. It's just slow and steady. It seems to be totally happy, hanging out all day at 5,000 RPM. Nothing's getting hot, nothing's getting weird. As long as I can kind of get around the mental hurdle of thinking that you're revving this thing to the moon, that's just where it wants to be. And it doesn't seem to mind. It's not bad for it at all. So I just have to kind of lock in and keep trekking through. All right, I've let this thing cool down for long enough. Not that it was hot in the first place, but I've let it rest for long enough. I'm about 20 miles from where I want to camp tonight, so I'm going to put it in four-wheel drive and hit this dirt road. All right, this should be interesting. This road just kind of dead-ended, and now I've got to figure out how to get down it safely. I think I should be able to just go down like this. Oh, yeah. There we go. Pajero Mini for the win. I'm about 15 miles from the nearest gas station, and I think I could probably make it, but this thing's getting scary low, and rather than run out of gas and suck who knows what into the fuel pump, I'm gonna dump my extra 2 gallons that I have with me into the tank so that I don't get too low. All right, gasoline is in. As you can probably tell, it's super windy. So I have a new goal for the night. I don't really care where I end up as long as it's not in the wind. I hate the wind. I don't like camping in the wind. And this is enough to like actually pick my tent up and move it. So I'm gonna keep going down this road and just try to find somewhere that's out of the wind. I'm kind of up on a ridge line right now. And so hopefully I can get a little lower or tucked into one of these kind of canyons or chutes or whatever and get out of this. But yeah, I got to get out of this wind. I managed to find my way down into this canyon, and it does appear to be much less windy. It's quite steep, but after all the stuff I've been through with the Pajero Mini, I'm not worried about the steepness. I'm mostly worried about just finding a nice place to camp. So it goes down there. I'm gonna keep following this. Onyx says that it is a trail, so I'm gonna keep following it and hopefully find a sweet spot to call home for the night. This is the best. Both feet off the pedals, first gear, low range, just crawling down this hill. This is awesome. I have a feeling a lot of people in normal, fully built rigs wouldn't even venture down here. Hopefully I don't regret it in the morning, but so far this is looking like a sweet place to have camp. So I've made it to the bottom of this wash, and it's hard to say if it's not windy down here. One of the things when you get down to the bottom of these things is wind will rip through down the canyon. And so I want to hang out here for a little bit and just see, but this is a really cool spot. I'm down here, I'm in the wash, and I could have gone a little bit further, but you kind of run out of trail there. And so I think this might be a good spot to camp. I can probably camp like right here in the middle of it. And there is a little bit of danger camping in a wash because of flash flooding. And that's a real concern down here. If I spend the night down here and a lot of water comes in, I've got to get out pretty quick. Thankfully though, the path out is right there. So I'm not really trapped in here. I can get out pretty quickly. And I checked the weather and it's not looking like we have any storms even remotely in the area. So I'm gonna wait here, see about the wind situation, and we might call this a night. So I'm gonna hike down here in the wash, and it's super cool out here. Just really cool rock formation. There's a waterfall down there, but check this out. Look at all the different layering in this rock. You get like all this stuff. I'm no geologist, so I don't know really anything about it, but these are just some spectacular features. Really cool to see. Makes me wish that I had the Montero out here. That waterfall specifically would be pretty cool. Welcome to camp. You can see the Pajero Mini in there. just tucked away, and this is where I'm gonna be camping. So it's kind of this hole where we're tucked out of the weather. So you can see right here, I'm just nestled in here. This thing barely fits. It's just underneath that tree. But this will be a great place to camp. It's totally out of the weather and just a cool spot. I'm gonna do some hiking around here, but first I need to get camp set up. Right, and that's it for day 4. Really unique camp spot, really unique spot to drive around in, and I think it's gonna be great. The wind is blowing, I can hear it above me, but it's not right here. So I'm gonna have a great night's sleep, I'm sure, except for whatever that chirpy thing is, but I've got earplugs, so I'm not worried about it. So tomorrow morning, I think I'm gonna get a pretty early start. I want to spend a good amount of time in Vegas. I might even hang out with some friends. I'm going to meet up with my uncle who lives there. I'm going to be staying with him, but I don't want to be rushed. It's another day where I'm going to have to spend some time on the highway, and so I want to get an early start, get after it. So I'll probably be crawling out of here as soon as the sun goes up. One thing I'm a little concerned about is getting back out of here. I think I can do it no problem. One of the things I'm concerned about is how much gas it's going to take to climb back out of here. It's not that far, but there's only one way to find out. I guess you and I can find out together in the morning. So thanks for joining me for day 4, and I'll see you guys in the morning.